Hey, folks, listen up. It's another edition of Money Across America with Garry Thurman. I am honored to host this series every single week. And here's why I'm so honored to do this is because I am getting to talk to some of the top financial planners all over this country. And it's so unique because I'm right here in Tennessee. But it's amazing to me to see how like-minded advisors are helping people in the same ways all over this great country of ours. And that's what this program is all about. If you're someone out there and you're thinking, man, am I truly ready to retire? This is the show for you. Or maybe you're someone in your 40s or 50s and you're starting to think about that process. What steps should I take? This is the show for you. We're going to talk about income planning, taxes, inflation, Social Security. We're going to hit a lot of different topics in the next 30 to 35 minutes. And I am super pumped for today's show because this is probably my favorite financial advisor in this great country of ours. And he's also a really dear friend. Joe Wilson, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Money, I'm doing great, buddy. Thank you so much. What endearing words. We value you and your sweet wife, and Angela and I just count you some of our dearest friends, and it's great to be with you and on this exciting adventure you've got going here. I think this is so cool. I was able to catch a little bit of your first episode with John Papa of New Jersey. And I love what you're doing, and I think this is needed in our industry. I think it's needed for those folks that are trying to gather information, because you said something earlier in your intro. It's so true, is that there's a difference between those that are doing comprehensive wealth planning or just focusing on investments or just focusing on insurance. It is truly special when you hear good fiduciary comprehensive wealth advisors, because there are some overlaps. And I think the modern retiree needs it right now.
Right, absolutely. So Joe and I have known each other for several years now. We actually met on a trip to Napa Valley, of all things, which is really cool. But Joe and I talk on a daily basis. And the reason for that is we just inspire each other. Or maybe I'm having a bad day. Joe's having a bad day. We're trying to help a client out. We try to help each other. And that's what's amazing to me about the group of advisors that we have, is that we're really, truly each other's cheerleaders. We want to help each other. We want to learn from each other. And that's what this show's all about. Now, Joe is located in the Cincinnati area. Now, Joe, you just started a brand new office up in Indianapolis as well, correct?
We branched out. We have an office. We're in our headquarters office here in Cincinnati. We have an amazing office in northern Kentucky, across the river. Cincinnati is what we call the tri-state area. The loop actually goes around Kentucky, Indiana, kind of similar to you. You could be in Chattanooga, 2 seconds later, you're in Georgia. But we also branched out. It's about an hour and 45 minutes away. We've got northern Indianapolis that joined on. We're really excited about having an office there and helping the folks right here in this Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky tri-state area.
Need your help, Joe, that's for sure. So, Joe, let's talk about that area, your region right now. What are the biggest financial trends you're seeing in your area right now?
Well, I'll tell you the biggest concerns. And recently, because just like you, Gary, we have a television show, we have a radio show, we have a book, we do all kinds of educational events. It allows us perspective because we have the ability to see so many folks on a weekly basis that are coming in or having conversations. And I could tell you the number one thing right now that is just constant, no matter whether you're in Indy, whether you're in Northern Kentucky, whether you're in Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, it is, am I going to run out of money?
Yeah.
I feel like it's more prevalent now than it has been. And I did a little research on this, Gary. I went back and I said, when did this switch happen? I remember when I started in this business, dear God, almost 20 plus years ago here, we didn't seem to hear that fear as much.
Right.
It's fascinating to me. It was more concerned about what's going on with long-term care, which is still a prevalent thing, but the running out of money was less. I think part of that is because, well, we're 20 years down the road. And so pensions, right, are fewer and far between, number one.
Right.
Number two, we've got a fear of Social Security. Is it going to be there? There's a lot of that fear right now. And we're not seeing the true COLA, cost of living increase that I think that's keeping up with food prices right now. Cost of living inflation. Dear God, when you look at where we were just in 2020 to today, it's over 24 to 25% more expensive to live today than it was just 5 years ago. I did a little deep dive on this, did a radio show on it recently, just the cost of a Big Mac, the cost of a Taco Supreme. And we're talking $10 and $11 for what when we were in college was at $4.50. And it truly is impacting, I believe, the budgets right now of the modern retiree. Mix that into what we've seen in the economy, Gary, where the markets have had major pullbacks over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And even minor retirees going, dear God, if I'm going to live 30 plus years, how am I going to do this with all of these headwinds? That's just the number one fear we're seeing right now.
So how are you helping your folks prepare for the higher cost of goods? Now, inflation, the numerical number is down. Cost of goods are still up. What about future taxes? What about the most recent market volatility? All of that combines to all these fears that you're talking about, correct?
True, because I think what we forget on inflation, we see the number, the media reports them and says, oh, inflation's growing at 3.5 or 3.8 or 3. And everybody feels, oh, great, it's come down because we remember that 8, 9% we had a few years ago.
Right.
People forget is that's stacked like a layer of cake. It's not, okay, that's 3% growth year over year. That's year over year. And so it is getting more expensive. And for the modern retiree, a lot of folks are trying to set themselves on a fixed, if you will, budget. So you have Social Security coming in that historically is only getting a cost of living increase of about 2.6. Well, if the economy is growing at 3.8, you've lost over 1.5% in your purchasing power. That doesn't sound like much.
It's a lot.
They stretch that out over 25 or 30 years. Inflation truly is a tax. It's a tax, and it's a silent eroder of wealth. I call it a financial termite. It doesn't show up today, but it can have a huge impact on income plans 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So one of the things our team is doing is just starting at the basics. I hate the word budget. We call it the B word. We don't say the B word here.
Yeah.
Say the S word, and that's a spending plan. And let's go down and just look. I think so many folks come in, and when they're worried about this, they haven't looked truly at their spending. And I'm not telling you to cut things. What I want to know is what are the necessities you need in life? Your food, your housing, your real estate taxes, the gas in your car. If you need medicine, I'm a type 1 diabetic. You better believe I'm putting that in my necessities. Taking that, and then what do you want to do? You and I love to play golf. We love to eat, travel. Well, how does that work into my budget if I'm retired?
Right.
Take that number and now reverse engineer it. Look at that at the historical inflation rate. And I think this is where we're seeing, as we've talked in numerous times, so many folks are kind of missing the boat because when you look at inflation, the 50-year number, G, is 3.8%. And for a 50-year average. And if we're going to use numbers, let's use real numbers. I think we continue to see 1.5% finance plans where people are coming in and they've planned 1.5 or 1.8% in inflation. And they're 10 years into retirement going,
right.
It just feels different. That's one of the reasons why there's a turmoil. We got to
there. That's it. Hey, Adam. And another thing I get either way, Adam, is these future taxes. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. What about the most recent election we just had? We got a brand new president, a brand new administration, and this is Wall Street Journal's article today talking about the mega bill is going to increase the deficit by $2.4 trillion over the next decade. What are the folks in the Cincinnati area, how are they feeling about the new administration that we're having and where things are going when they're talking to you?
Well, I don't think they know, right? I mean, I think there's two things. There's politics, and then there's short term and there's long term. I think a lot of folks are loving the idea that we've been taking advantage of for sure. I mean, that's just math. I mean, the Marshall Plan was in the 40s as we celebrate D-Day today, 81 years ago. The challenge is how that's going to roll out. And I think the whole fear right now is what does that look like in the second half of the year? And I'm definitely not an economist, but we read a lot. And I think the concern is, will we see Walmart? Look at what's going on with Walmart right now. Will they pass that on? Will they eat it? There's some car manufacturers that are eating this year's model pricing. Right. I do think it'll have an interesting way of calming out. I don't think there's a lot of fear to the sense of, I think people also realize this is negotiation. But the longer it goes, the more worrisome it'll become. On top of that, you mentioned something about legislative risk is what I call it, who we vote on the Hill. Every 2 years, we're voting in Congress. And think about this, G. If you're going to have a 30-year retirement, you're 65, you better plan on a 30-plus year retirement. That's what we're seeing. That's 15 congressional elections you're going to have over your life. So yes, the current tax code is very favorable. It's the third, really going back, it's one of the third lowest brackets that we've seen in history. Do I think it'll be extended? Probably. The challenge is how long, and how long will that last? And when you look at where we are with the debt, when you look at the amount of money that's sitting in qualified plans, IRAs, 401ks, if you're a government worker, 457, money you have yet to pay taxes on, it's almost really over right now, $40 trillion, right? $36+ trillion in debt. And gee, here's the other one. $85 trillion is scheduled to transfer from the baby boom generation to Generation X and millennials over the next 10 to 15 years.
Right.
I think Congress recognizes that. And if you're not paying attention to taxes in your retirement accounts, I call it tax debt. What are your debt? You're making a mistake. It's another termite. It is inflation and in taxes because it won't show up today. But I think there's a big error when people that are RMD, required minimum distribution age, maybe in their mid 60s. And so, well, I'll just worry about it then. You're really gambling and betting that taxes will stay at their current level. I would take, personally, I'm taking the other side of that bet. We're advising our clients to take the other side of that bet, that there's an opportunity right now. And if this bill, and I do think it'll be extended, will get it done by October, November. It did this in 2017. It might extend it to next year, but the current bill does expire at the end of this year. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, but it's going to be temporary. It's not going to be permanent, which is just extra innings of baseball. It's baseball season.
Thought is, I want to spend a few minutes on taxes, Joe, because you just said something that's a topic of conversation here with all of our advisors, with clients that are coming in. If this tax bill does pass, which I feel it's going to, we have an opportunity. We have a window of opportunity to maybe look at doing some Roth conversions. That has to be the largest topic that I hear Tim and Bobby talk with all of our clients about. You're sitting on this a 401k. You got $1 million in this 401k. Well, you really don't, because you haven't paid your favorite uncle yet, your favorite Uncle Sam. So right now, third lowest tax bracket we've ever been in. If that gets extended 2-3 more years, people need to really be educated on the differences between paying that taxable money down the road and tax-free money. Is that something you're seeing in the Cincinnati area?
I am, and I think part of it's too is just why we do the educational bits. Now you all do that there in Chattanooga, because there's a big misconception right now. You'll hear people still like, well, I make too much money for a Roth. I think there's, and gotta love our government, how they name these things. If you're still working and you have the availability for a Roth 401k, that's an area that many folks should really look at, because a Roth IRA does have income limits. You can put money into it only if you have under a certain income level. But if you're a higher income earner, there's the Roth 401k. If you've retired and you don't have earned income, well, how do you contribute? I think people don't realize that you can do Roth conversions. And there's this I find this interesting. I don't think it's right for everybody. I think it's individual. And I think it's important to understand that. What is the purpose of every dollar? If your goal is to pass money on to the next generation, obviously you live, but then the extra, pass it on to the next generation. The absolute worst thing you can give the next generation is a qualified IRA or 401k, because the tax rules change. They no longer have their lifetime to take that money out. They have to take it out within 10 years.
Right.
So are that we were one vote away from the Build Back Better bill in the Senate, from that having to really be taken out in equal amounts. Now, think if you have a high income earning kid, that could be a huge tax liability to them. It's
absolutely
a birthday party for them, and a Sweet 16, like, did you like your party? Oh, Dad, this is great. Congrats. Here's the bill. The other thing we forget about, Gary, is a lot of folks that are married, rarely do they pass at the same time. So you've got married filing jointly, which is the most favorable bracket really in the tax bracket. But when one of those individuals die, and gentlemen, it's usually us, the ladies tend to outlive us.
Right.
The following years, they're going to be in the single bracket, which is a substantially higher bracket. So not only are we not planning for that, I think a lot of folks forget about that in their decision. Do I do a Roth conversion now? Maybe you're in a ski retirement. spend the kids' inheritance, well, that might have a little different look because you don't have that extra 10 years. But I will tell you, this is an area that I think many financial offices are not truly looking at because they're saying, well, we can deal with it later.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the most prudent way to do it.
Yeah, Joe, you just reminded me of a story I used to tell about with future taxes. I see them as a hurricane. I used to say, let's look at a tornado versus a hurricane. Tornadoes come out of nowhere, right? You never know when that funnel's going to come down. You never know when it's going to hit. Hurricanes, we usually know weeks ahead of time where they're looking to make landfall. We have a tax bomb. We have a tax storm coming our way. We don't know when it's happening, but we know it's probably going to happen. The national debt is at an all-time high. The interest on our debt's over $1 trillion a year. Why would you not sit down with someone like Joe, someone like here in our office, and start looking at some Roth conversions? I just think it's a brilliant idea, folks, and you got to do that. Joe, you and I, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not what you have, it's what you get to keep. And I think
love
that's
that.
the biggest challenge. Folks look at their account, I've got $1 million. No, you don't. It's not all yours. You have a debt. I love history. I'm a big history guy. And here on D-Day, let's just look back and look at where brackets were. And it's amazing to me, not that everyone's in the highest bracket. Obviously, brackets move. But when you look at the 1950s, the 1960s, and the 1970s, the highest marginal tax bracket never fell below 70%. We're sitting in the 40 today. When the 401k was invented, it was never designed to be the solo earning spot for modern retirees. It was written and designed for high income earners because back when that came out, pensions were in effect. You worked for a company for 30, 40 years, you retired, you got your mailbox money from your company. This is a way for higher income earners to put away pre-tax dollars that were able to be deducted off their income so they could pay lower taxes. Why? They were at a 70% bracket.
Yeah. We
sit today at 37. So the greatest trick Congress ever played was creating this, hey, you go ahead and I'm going to give you a little break on this little amount, and you pay taxes on it way down the road. I think that it sounds great in theory, but the truth is what we're seeing now is with Social Security, when people have been saving and taking money out, and when you start to understand all of that starting to stack and add, holy smokes, people are starting to find themselves in a very similar tax bracket at retirement than they thought they were when they were working.
Yeah.
A little bit different today because the rules were different when it started.
Yeah, I always use the analogy farmer. I'm in good old Tennessee, right? I always use the analogy of a farmer. Do you want to pay taxes on the seeds or the harvest? Because the harvest is going to come, and that's going to be those higher taxes.
Now, drive around all those cornfields right now. Imagine having to pay tax on that kernel of corn or choosing not to. And as we get the corn, starting to grow, and here we are, and look at July, 4th of July, knee high by the 4th of July is the old saying, right? That corn grows and you go all those ears of corn on that stalk, and now you got to pay tax on the whole thing. When you start looking at it that way, it really does become a little bit of a wow. No one likes to pay taxes. I think the challenge is, how do you not have a lazy tax bracket? We love to look at the bracket. It's not doing taxes. It's called tax planning. If you're married filing jointly, those brackets right now are pretty wide. Do you have lazy assets and lazy tax brackets where are you not taking advantage of this window where you can maximize the current bracket you're in right now? Yes. Pay the tax on it now. But you disinherited Uncle Sam from ever touching that money. And I allow that now to grow and to grow tax-free. And if you do pass and you want to leave that on to your kids, what an unbelievable gift that is. Plus, I think people just need money. You need tax-free. You need to go to get money where Uncle Sam's not saying, pay me.
I love that. So let's talk about that. Pay me. Income's the number one fear in America. That's how you started this segment off. I mean, hands down, people are worried about. A lot of people ask me, someone asked me just the other day, Gary, what do you think the greatest risk is out there? I said longevity risk. Because with longevity risk, all the other risks come into play. Income, healthcare, Social Security maximization, so many different things. How are you designing plans to make sure that your clients never have to worry about running out of money, Joe?
Well, we take what I just talked about and reverse engineer it. We start with the spending plan and we look at what necessities and a lifestyle spending, what it is. And sometimes people don't know. Well, I don't know. There's three stages of retirement, Gary. There are the go-go years.
Yeah.
I think they last between 8 to 11 years on average. The go-go
Yeah.
year, you're just retired. What do you want to do? Go. I mean, we've got clients this year going to Europe. We've got them going to Australia. We have them going to all the national parks. I mean, they are going. You spend money in the go-go years. You then hit a period where you're like, okay, I've been there, I've done that, or you start to slow down a little bit. We have an advisor right here that came to me and said, "Hey, I need to take a trip. My father and mother were taking my kids to Disney, and he's got a knee that had to be replaced, and they had to go in and do it right away. He can't go, and he's slowing down, and we're going to take him." I kind of laughed. He goes, "Yeah, the slow go, right? I've been there, I've done that. We're not going to go." I
Yeah.
had a client recently that would always go to Europe, and he's like, "I'm not going this year. I'm tired of traveling there. I'm tired of the wait, tired of time." So slow go, spending tends to come down. Then you hit that period of no go, where
Yeah.
you go or you don't want to go. And a lot of people in their plans, in my opinion, they think spending is going to come down again. What tends to happen is spending actually tends to go back up to what they were spending in go-go years and sometimes more. So to me, it is so important to understand, number one, the cycle of retirement. Number two, what are you spending? And if you're not adjusting that for a true inflation number, and if you're not looking at as after tax
Right.
dollars, how much debt, we start there, Gary. I mean, a $60,000 a year pool. Think about this. If you're taking $60,000 out today to go with your Social Security out of your retirement accounts, when you impact that with just inflation in 20 years, that's the equivalent of almost $126,000.
Right. That's huge.
Historical inflation. That's not including after tax. I
Right.
thought most modern retirees haven't even done that math. We start there and then we reverse engineer it. Okay, if this is your necessities, you have to have it. How do we make sure you have money with Social Security, with your investments? Let's give every dollar a job to do. How do we fill the necessities? How do we fill the lifestyle? And then how do we do that most tax efficient? We start with that fundamental way and reverse engineer it. And it's just enlightening. I think what's amazing is I call it the boom shakalaka moment. People are like, okay, I can do this. Well, this sounds different. It's not just, well, if my account grows at X and I take
Right.
out X.
Right.
That is such our industry has just failed people. Average return is not actual. And so many folks just don't understand that. You know, if the market grows at 8% a year, I can just take out 8%. Well, if that theory is correct, if the market's down 20%, are you going to go work that year until it comes back?
Exactly.
You don't
Exactly.
think that through. And that's tough, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an enlightenment when you understand, wow, the distribution phase of retirement is managing money very differently than the accumulation phase.
Think about one of the biggest mistakes that I think people make out there, Joe, and that's coming to Social Security. I mean, a lot of people, well, my mama did it this way, or my cousin did it this way. Uncle Joe told me to do it this way. My coworker did it this way. There are so many mistakes made in Social Security planning. There's trillions of dollars being left on the table. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's Social Security optimization, and it has to optimize with the rest of your assets. We get this question asked a lot, you know, when should I take it? Should I take it at 65? Should I wait till full retirement age? Should I delay it until the age of 70? Uh, it sounds like a cop out, but I go, it depends. I can't answer that question right now. What are you doing with your other assets? How is it most working together most tax efficiently? When you look at Social Security, it was very easy back in the day. One, we weren't living as long. Number two is all tax free. It was Reagan in 83 that made 50% of the account taxable because I think they realized we are going to run out. And it was Clinton in 93 that moved that up to 85% based upon the income that you're making taxable. That adds in, right, to your other assets. So I think that all has to come together. What are you taking out? I do think it'd be such a vital part of what we call the income engine because it is there. Will it be there? That's a topic probably for another day, and we can pontificate on that. But it is a great fundamental and start to help fill the necessity bucket. I think the challenge is if you think that's all I'm going to do for my guaranteed income and then just hope the market does the rest, I find that as a challenge.
that's a little scary, actually. And that it's something we're seeing here in Tennessee all the time. People come in, they're worried about running out of money. Something else they're worried about now, Joe, because of longevity risk, is getting sick. So a couple of things I want to talk about with that. I want to bring up the A word. I want to talk about some annuities for a few minutes. I love a properly structured fixed indexed annuity with the right income rider on it, with now a multi-benefit rider attached to it. How are you using annuities in your practice for folks there in Cincinnati?
Well, you just said a lot of jargon words, and I think it'd be good to break that down. I think uh, it is the old Clint. I love westerns. It's the Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Um, there are hideous, awful, garbage, run, worst enemy. Don't even put them into it. Right. It is the bad. I would say not everyone needs an annuity. I would say it is a tool. I think it's a Swiss Army knife that for many folks, it can absolutely benefit if appropriate. I look at this, Gary. What is this? People will say it's a phone. Well, it is. I can call you on it, but what else is it? It's a computer. I mean, there's more technology in this than when I went into the spaceship and landed on the moon. Realize it's my calendar. I can absolutely go look at the news. It's my newspaper. It's my Wall Street Journal.
Right.
It's whatever I want it to be. And so there's so many tools that this thing can do. It's my video camera. It's my camera. It's a Swiss Army knife. I feel there are some potential areas where there are some fixed indexed annuities that really can become a Swiss Army knife. There's three types of retirements, Gare. There's overfunded. Everybody says, I want an overfunded retirement. Those are great. It's just a different set of problems. It becomes the opposite of estate planning and legacy plans. We like to say, how are we going to pass this money on? How do we do it most tax efficiently? There's underfunded. Those are tough. Underfunded, just bad things happen to good people. And it's Social Security. How do you delay that as late as you can? You're probably going to have to work a lot longer than what you wanted. There's not a lot of options there. To me, so many folks come into this third bucket, and it's called constrained. It doesn't matter the amount of assets. I can tell you, we have sat with folks that have $750,000, and for what they're doing, they're almost overfunded because the spending plan is set. We're good. I had somebody recently come in, one of my advisors working with that 2.4 million. You think, wow, 2.4 million, and they're 66. Unbelievably constrained right now when you look at where they are with their necessities and their goals and what they're wanting to do. There's not many tools that can help fill that necessity gap better than an FIA. The problem is everybody, I think, thinks about their assets in one bucket. Peel it off. I'm going to allocate this piece to do one thing, provide me lifetime income. And God forbid if I get sick, I've got some money that will help increase to cover in-home care. This money is designed to grow. I want it to grow most tax efficiently. My God, hello, Roth IRA. That's where you should probably have the majority of your riskier assets because every dime of growth, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Where are you going to get your income 10 to 15 years now? Think of inflation. Where are you going to beat that? It's segmenting every dollar you have saved to give it a very specific job. Fixed indexed annuities can be a great utility knife. I think they're, when they're understood, and when they're done properly, they could be a great tool. It's no different than having a really long dividend paying king or a great individual bond, not a bond fund, but an individual bond that is set to income. There are tools. They're appropriate to use when you need to use them.
That's how I explain it to people. I mean, we've had so many people walk in, Joe, and go, look, if we're going to talk about annuities, I'm just going to leave. And I love when that happens because my question is, tell me why. I want to hear all the bad things they've heard. And then I want to properly educate them and show them the fine print on the ones that really are beneficial. But like you said, it's not for everybody. I don't think you ever put all your eggs in one basket. I know you use a bucket theory like we do. There's places to put your money that are appropriate based on your risk levels, based on your age, and based on the lifestyle that you want. But I am a little blown away where people just go turn on Social Security without talking to someone like yourself, a fiduciary advisor, You really need to optimize or maximize your Social Security benefit. And Joe can do this for you folks. And it doesn't cost you anything to come in and make sure you're going to turn on the Social Security at the right time. I just think it's such a big misconception out there. People just don't follow the rules because there's thousands of ways you can apply for Social Security. I would encourage you guys, take the time and meet with somebody like Joe. Make sure you're turning on Social Security at the right time to go along with everything else that you're doing.
What you're saying is have a plan.
And that's all it's about. Have a plan, Joe.
It's everyone thinks, well, I have a plan. And to them, the plan is I'm going to turn on Social Security. And then the plan is, well, here's my investment statement.
Yeah, exactly.
That is
not
one
a plan.
piece. That's not a plan. That is one piece. And maybe I'm passionate about that because when I started in this industry in 2006, it was a second career for me. I was blessed. I worked at a large regional wirehouse firm in downtown Cincinnati, high floor. And I was able to just sit and watch and train with some of the best of the best. Not even around it. Back when they were writing out paper tickets, people would call in and go, I want to buy 100 shares of Procter & Gamble. They were the OGs, if you will. I was able to sit and watch through the Great Recession, 2007, October, when it really started, all the way to March 9th, 2009, which was the low. You know, it allowed me an unbelievable perspective because I saw clients that came in with them that were doing retirement well, even through that demise. And I was able to take some notes. Okay, what did they do? Because there'd be another meeting where folks would come in and retirement was getting crushed for them. And you saw the opposite of that effect, either side. And it allowed me in my very early years as being an advisor to get some rooted principles and understanding of great markets don't always just last. I think the market is the greatest way to build wealth, period. Yeah. You need market money. You need growth money. Nothing is better than time in the market. Nothing. Right. It's why if you're a mono-retiree, you're sitting here, you have the money you have. In fact, 08, 2000, 2001, 2002, and the market's down almost 45%, probably helped you have the money you have now. 2007, 2008, 2009, those were brutal years. It helped you have the money you have now because you were buying into those huge dips. Taking money out, though, in those times are crucial. It doesn't happen all the time, but one thing we don't know is when the bad years happen. Just look at what recently happened in 2022. Yeah. We had folks that retired in 2021 and things were hunky-dory, all is well. And then they walked right into 2022. And here's what's important, and this is what I learned. You always have to have a place to go with your money, Gary, that is not subject to market loss because the market will be down. Imagine having $1 million portfolio and it's all managed the same way when you retired in 21. You got stocks and you got bonds. You're in the 60% stock, 40% bond. That portfolio is down almost 20%. That means your plan is now 800. 2023, are you really going to be taking that deep of a pay cut? If you do the old 4% withdrawal rule, you were taking out $40,000 this year with your Social Security, and now you have to take 20% less of that. That's a substantial cut. So does that mean you don't travel? Does that mean you get rid of your cable bill? I mean, you work 35, 40 years, retire the way you want to retire. Why subject yourself to that volatility? And so again, it goes back. Here's where I'm going to get my income. I have a place to go when the market's down. I can get income that's not subject to that. The market's up in 23. Well, turn that off and go get it from over here. It's allowing options. And so many people are doing this wrong. And that's my biggest concern right now going forward. I think we will have some great years over the next 15, 20 years. Amazing. I'm still a believer in America. I think there'll be more good years than bad years, but you better have a plan. When the bad years come, where am I going to get my paycheck? Because if it's just on the hopes of winning the market, you are subjecting yourself to a lot of risk.
I think like here in Chattanooga, same in Cincinnati, we're seeing so many clients come in, and you said it a few minutes ago, they're working with one of the big box stores out there. You know, they got their investments, they got their Social Security. That's not a plan. And I think that's unfortunately, I think it's something that's unfair in our industry that a lot of advisors are not actually taking the time and put a plan together for folks. I mean, it's something we're seeing every single day, and I'm sure you are too.
Oh, it's why I structured the firm the way I did, because you got to understand what is the goal of the big box firms. The goal is to grow the money. I mean, they are many of them are publicly traded companies. They are. This was an eye-opening thing when I worked there. I remember going to uh, a big corporate meeting. They were rolling out this managed money program, and they had this big third-party manager that was standing up in front of about 600 advisors saying, "This is why we picked this, and this fund does this, and this investment does this." And what blew me away as I looked at the list, I started counting, and there were about 20 different funds and managers in this portfolio. Out of the 20, almost 11 of them were all proprietary. It was that company's subsidiary company. And I raised my hand and they gave me the mic and I asked them, and it was very awkward for them. And I got some awkward looks back. And it was from that day that I realized I've got to get out of here. I can't do this, because the goal for them is to, yes, grow clients' money, grow, 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 grow. The problem with that is sometimes that doesn't factor in and meet every need that is for that individual client. You need growth money, but you need to have money, like we talked about, set aside to do a specific job. And so that conflict of interest drove me nuts. It's why I wanted to go independent, to really help. If we are going to pick what we need to pick, that makes sense for you. Boy, that was an enlightenment to me when you saw that. And now those companies report, they have earnings, they have to grow that money.
Right.
It's a different type of plan, and they don't care. I shouldn't say they don't care. I think the advisors care. I'm not sure the corporate management cares. Well, the Roth conversions, well, you got to pay taxes on it. So $1 million, if you're converting that over a few years, you're going to have to pay $400,000 over those few years, probably in tax ballpark. Well, that's less money for them to manage, which means profits go down. It's a different animal.
Different animal. I love that. That's the best way to say it, Joe. It's a different animal. So I got a couple of questions for you. Then I want to get into talking about your quizzes and your book and how people can reach out to you really quick. But Joe, what's the best piece of financial advice you ever have been given?
I'm trying to remember who told me this. And I don't know if I read it. I heard it as a kid, and it sounds so basic, but you know me, I'm pretty direct, and I'm a one-liner guy. And it just this resonates with me. I tell my kids this: save more than you spend, and don't do anything stupid. And it's so basic, but it can cover so many things. I mean, how many times have we sat down with folks and we're going through their income plan, and they're in their late 50s or they're in their mid 60s and they're constrained, and you start going through their spending plan and you realize, a year and a half ago, Bubba decided he really needed a Corvette, and he took money out of his 401k and dropped $115 on a brand new Corvette. If you got the cabbage, go do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I would throw that in the stupid category, right?
Yeah, I would too.
It's funny as we go through it, and I don't say that to them, but as we start looking through it, you can kind of see they're like, oh my goodness.
Well, why did I do that?
Yeah, why did I do this? So I just think save when you spend and don't do anything stupid. I think it's stupid, I'm blunt, to not do tax planning. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Because if you want to make sure you have your money that you work so hard on, why are you just adopting the government's plan? Listen, if you understand your tax debt and you make a decision to not address it, you had every right to do that. It is your money. But
That's right.
You no longer claim ignorance. You are choosing to allow Congress to tell you how much of your money you can have. I just think that's stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a fun question, and I think I actually know the answer to this because I know you so well. If you are not doing what you're doing right now, helping people retire, being a financial advisor, what would Joe Wilson be doing?
I flip back and forth on this. There's two things. For years it'd be I would just be a golf pro. I would teach the golf, swing, and hang out and have a nice, beautiful office. And then there's other days that just get me back to my mom's side of the family, Texas roots, and I'm like, man, I just want to be a rancher. I just get on a horse, go out and get it done, right? And there's some simplicity to that and complexity, really. If you look at what's going on in the farming world, I'm not sure that's the greatest option, but I'd pick one of those two. I would do one of those two things probably.
Love it. I love it. So let me tell you something that myself and Joe have done, and I think this is so important. So if you're in the Cincinnati area or if you're in Tennessee, I just want to tell you about some calculators that we have created to make things easier for you. One is our tax calculator. What I love about this is that you can go to Joe's or mine, put it in from the comfort of your couch, put your current taxes and your current numbers up against what we think the future is going to be. So if you're in Joe's area, up in the Cincinnati, Indianapolis area, wisetaxbill.com. So easy. Wisetaxbill.com. If you're down here in good old Tennessee with me, plantodaytaxbill.com. Plantodaytaxbill.com. It's fascinating. Takes 15, 20 minutes to go through it. And I think it might open your eyes up to go have a conversation with Joe or come into our office and talk about some Roth conversions.
We cover the debt. And I know
that's right.
I call it a shock me bleu moment.
Shock.
I remember being 6 years old, G, and got to watch Wizard of Oz for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, when you and I are old, back when you and I were born, it only came on one time a year.
Right.
And I had chicken pox and I didn't have school the next day. It was around Easter time. It'd always come on. My mom wanted me to stay up. And I watched it. And I remember the shock when Toto grabbed that curtain, and ripped it back when Dorothy's standing in front of the wizard and the big facade of that huge angry wizard. And you realize it's just a little old man behind the curtain. You can't unsee that. I think when you go to these tax calculators, people have grown accustomed, well, that's my money. And it is a Wizard of Oz moment. It is the curtain being pulled back. Some things can't be unseen. And it is a shock me bleu moment. And it forces you to really understand, wow, this could be a huge, huge liability that I really need to address.
I love it. And Joe, I think the biggest question in America today, someone's 63, 64, 65 years old, they're asking themselves, can I actually retire? Am I truly ready to retire? So again, a calculator that you have came up with.
What does that question mean though, Gary?
I mean, that question means a lot of things. Can I afford to retire? Can I have the lifestyle that I want? Am I maximizing my Social Security benefits? What about health care? There's a lot to that question, right, Joe?
All of those things you just said are absolutely there. And it all revolves around, in my opinion, sums it up right here. If you're driving around and going, well, do you think I can retire? Can I retire? What you're asking yourself is, well, I have enough money to last for me and my wife as long as breath in my body. That's really what you're asking. It's not about just the size of your nest egg. It's, will that nest egg beat inflation, beat taxes, allow my spending and my lifestyle to work so I have more money than breath in my body. We say it at our firm all the time, Gary. We help folks be and stay retirement ready.
I love it, Joe. So Joe's calculator is owquiz.com. How easy is that? owquiz.com. Go in there, check it out. Again, from the comfort of your couch. If you're in Tennessee, it's giaquiz.com, and you're going to learn so much from that. Also, you can reach out to Joe, 513-657-1072, 513-657-1072. You can check out owprivatecapital.com. And you can actually reach out to Joe via email, joe@owprivatecapital.com. And Joe, I know you got your Wise Money TV, you got your radio show going, you got all these different marketing adventures going on, your dinner events, your educational events. I want to close the segment about your book. Let's talk about that just for a few minutes.
Yeah, I think I was pushed by my team and some of my mentors and even you, Gary, of like, get a book, because I do come from a unique perspective of working in the regional wirehouses and seeing how that side of the world works, and now being on this independent side for so long, it is allowed perspective. And so I wrote the book, The 5 Agreements to Be and Stay Retirement Ready. And it really encompasses, in my opinion, 5 areas that you must have nailed down. You better have an income engine. We've talked about that most of the time here. Where are you going to get your income that's going to last you to and through retirement? You better have it in the understanding of tax, because you can only spend after-tax dollars. There's a tax bomb. We cover that. We look at your investments. This is an area that a lot of people forget, or they just think this is all that financial planners do. That is just one part, but boy, are we seeing huge errors right here, because we've seen so many companies that have done really well and become such a big part of the S&P. The overlap in so many portfolios is so hectic right now. We address that. Asset preservation. What happens when the bad things hit your life over a 30-year window. And ultimately, the good book says it's appointed to every man a time to die. Legacy planning. What are you going to do when you need to pass this money on? How do you pass it on most tax efficiently? How do you do it effectively? All 5 of those have to be in place, because if you're missing one, it's going to cost you money. So it's the 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. It's been a big impact. It's a lot of fun.
How can folks get a copy of the book, Joe?
OWPrivateCapital.com, and you can request yourself a copy of the book right there.
Thing here in Tennessee, my book is Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. I'd love to send you guys out a copy absolutely free. If I were you, I would get Joe's book and my book, because they're both free, and just be educated from my Cincinnati guy all the way down here to Tennessee. What I love about what we're doing here with Money Across America is, and I hope what you guys are hearing and seeing, is that here we are in Tennessee, and Joe's in Cincinnati. We see people as real people. We see our clients as family. You're not just another number. We're actually going to look at things and plan together. And look, folks, just like me, if I'm with a client and I'm stuck, or I need something answered, or there's just something missing, I can call Joe. And Joe can give me advice, which I'll do for him as well. What I love about this friendship that we have with all these advisors is we are taking care of our clients, and we're doing it in a lot of the same ways. That's the whole point of this podcast. That's the whole point of this video series. And I truly, truly hope you guys got something out of this and got an education. Joe, any closing last statements, buddy?
I love the fire out of you, bud. This is great. I think I echo everything you just said. And folks, you get one shot at retirement. You get one shot, and it is worth your time to make sure you are covering every aspect that you can, so you can be and stay retirement ready.
Awesome. Guys, reach out to Joe Wilson. He will take care of you. You have my word. Call him today. Get with his team. Come in. Get a second opinion, if you will. He's not going to charge you. Have a conversation with Joe. See where it takes you, and you can go from there. I hope you guys have enjoyed Money Across America. Stay tuned for next week. Have a great week, and God bless. Take care.